Ah, happy Monday, everybody. Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View. The cheetah's right here. We're here for a Monday night special show with actor Kris Loranger. He is he is one of the stars of the great new suspense film called Ditched. The name may sound familiar to you. We talked to an actress, Laura Talon, who also starred in the movie, and so we decided that we just keep going down, down the cast list. Maybe we'll get to the director if he's there, if he wants to come on. Um, so welcome to another week of another round of shows. Um, I think we got a pretty good lineup to end the month with. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Uh, we got Kris tonight. We have a studio head for Running Scared Motion Pictures tomorrow. Josh the Forge will be here with us tomorrow at 8 p.m. And then Wednesday, we have actress Angel Bradford will be here with us at 8 p.m. And we have documentary filmmaker and film composer Emiko will be here with us on Thursday. So, like I said, I think we have a great way to end the month. And then, of course, next month is really cool too because we are kicking off our community month with a couple of surprises in there. So we'll let you know what's going on with that. Uh, first, May 1st, we are taking a break from our Friday the 13th coverage because our good friend Al Lucard is taking a vacation. And so I'm going to have a guest host. Echo Zero will be coming up with me. And him and I are going to be talking about Jet Li's classic film called Fist of Legend. It is a martial arts film. It is Jet Li's homage to Bruce Lee, Fist of Fury. And so we are going to we're stepping outside of the Friday the 13th series for a couple of weeks, and we're going to do Fist of Fury on May 1st. And I don't know what we're doing on May 8th. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. But something will come to us. As far as the May goes, we have a community month planned. We really enjoyed doing the Women in Horror Month, that theme. So we thought, well, let's get back to the community. Let's highlight some of our favorite channels and talk to some of our favorite people and get to know some people who we really don't know that well. Because there are some out there I have said hi to as we pass by through other people's channels, but I really don't know them that well. So this is a great chance for all of us to do that. And we kick off our month with that was fast. You know what? I guess our guest wants to come up a little early. Ooh, probably gonna make him wait for a couple of minutes because I want to get some people in here. Hopefully, if he's hearing this, he'll wait. I'll be right with you, Kris. So May 1st, we got Greg from Fit for Expedition will be here with us. He will be our first guest for the month. He is a van lifer. Him and his wife Kelly are building out a box van. They are converting a box van into a living space, and they will be going on the road. And so we'll talk about that and the process how it takes. It's not an easy process. It's not just like you could just whip it out. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of know-how to build it out. People do it, and there's been some sensational. I've seen some sensational rigs, and so we're looking forward to talking to Greg about his experience and why he decided to go on the road. Let's see. On Wednesday, the 4th of May, we have two shows. I think we have two shows. I'm going to name you the one for sure, the one confirmed. I'll let you know a little later if the other one's confirmed. We will be talking to Ricky from the old AFs, the old AF reviewers. They will be here on. We will be going across the pond at 2 o'clock. Talk to Ricky, 2 o'clock Eastern time, and so we hope that some of you guys will come out and hang out with us during the afternoon. And then on Thursday, May 5th, we do have a regular guest scheduled. He's not part of the community. Well, in a sense, yes. In a way, yeah, actually, yeah. Part of the horror community. He's a film director and artist, Rich Ragsdale, whose new film, The Long Night, has come out, and we will be talking to him about that. And then on a very special show on Saturday, May 7th, we are welcoming in actor and writer and singer-songwriter Paul Green will be in. Paul Green has starred for 5 years on When Calls to Heart. He has been the leading man of about, I think, 8 or 9 Hallmark films. He has a brand new record out that he'll be playing a couple of songs from. And we'll be just talking about how it was like to balance a career with a family. He's got a brand new son, and that's very special. And we'll be talking about how he balances everything. I know how he does it. But I'm going to see if his answer is the same as mine. So that's the first week in May. So yeah. Hey Chadwick, how are you? All right. I'm going to bring our guests up anyway. We'll just make some small talk about 8 o'clock. Then we'll get busy. All right, here we go. You were early.
I just wanted to be ready. I didn't have any time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just thought, well, wait a minute, hold on. Let me get the calendar out here first, and then we'll bring you up. Yeah, this is my pre-show, so to speak. Hi, Chadwick. Hi, John. Doomsday Crypt is in the house. Actually, Doomsday is also a fellow interviewer, a fine one too. He interviews a lot of great talent. He has a lot of. In fact, he's got a show tonight. At 10:15, and Chadwick, can you see the chat okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, Chadwick is also a filmmaker. He is a filmmaker that's based in Atlanta, and we've actually talked to Chadwick before, and so he comes by and throws us a lot of support. So appreciate it. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, I have insomnia, wicked. It's really bad about this time of the year, and man, oh man, I just can't sleep for shit.
Oh man.
You ever have that? Ever have insomnia? You ever laid awake at night? Over a part, over a performance?
There's some nights I get excited. Something exciting's happening the next day, and I just cannot sleep. I'm like a kid at Christmas. I just, no matter what I do, I'm laying in bed, my eyes are wide open, I just can't. My mind is racing. And that can really keep me up. Yeah. Oh, hey.
Yeah, I get that too sometimes. I mean, I can go to sleep with that, but insomnia is just, I don't know what it is. It's just like, yeah. I mean, a little bit. When I used to get excited, I used to play football in high school, and this sounds sort of weird, but it's happened every single damn day. Every time we play a game, get, because you see all the equipment you have to put on, right? You have to put on pads and your pants. For me, and I make sure too, like I used to quit eating like 3 hours before game time. I always have a meal, and then I would have it like, but without fail, as soon as you put the pants on and you got your uniform on there and you took one step onto the field, you had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Never fail. And we're not talking about just taking a quick 5-minute leak either.
No, you gotta take everything off and then you gotta go.
Yeah. Every game. And it's just like, oh my, try not to eat at all. You're like, okay, I'm not gonna eat anything the day before. I'm just gonna just run on liquids, because if I have to go to the bathroom, I'll just have to go.
Yeah.
Never worked. Always had to. Always it was
I
nervousness.
that happens to me a lot too. Like your mind is on something else. You don't check in with your bladder until like you're about to go on, and then oh shoot, I didn't think of that.
Uh,
Yeah.
to me, I've always wondered about that.
Mm.
I wish it was my bladder. I was thinking a little bit. I would have to take a poop,
Oh,
and it was just like, yeah, it was just like, that's why I quit eating the day before. I was trying to make sure I had nothing in the
oh,
system, so I didn't have
yeah.
to worry. It was just nerves, absolutely 100% nerves. It was just
Nerves
like,
are
yeah, it was crazy. All throughout my high school career, every game. Um,
nerves
my
can
mom,
nerves can do you in. They've done me in a lot. Like I want to do something, I'm too excited about it, and then my nerves just take over, and then I'm vibrating, and I can't control myself. So
uh,
I've done a lot to try and
yeah,
get out of that and just kind of stay in the moment and not think too much about something. I don't know, but when I was when growing up, I was a huge overthinker. So I'd always overthink something, and I have to when I got into theater and improv, I had to like kind of tone that back and just kind of like live life in the moment. So it's been something I'm kind of pursuing. It's just kind of going towards a life where I can be in the moment and just let the moment happen because that's where the magic is. Because I find if I go past that, I can really get my mind spinning. So,
uh, now this sounds really funny. I mean, actually, I could ask this for Chadwick too, since he's a film director. Has that ever happened to you, like when you're on theater or in a scene? Has
yeah.
that ever happened where you're into the moment, all of a sudden your body betrays you and says, "Yeah, wait a minute, cut." Does that happen to artists and directors?
Yeah, you try and work yourself into the place that your character needs to be in that scene. Roadmap, especially if you're doing a theater show, like a stage show. You're trying to like, by this point, I have to be here. By this point, I should be here to kind of set yourself up what's going to happen next. Like I had when I was in college, we did a production of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I got to be Dr. Jekyll. And there's this point in like the second act where I knew I was on. I knew I was at where I needed to be in the course of the play because I had sweated so much from running around with all the costume changes and back scene shenanigans that a bead of sweat would run down my forehead, and then my makeup would like drain into my eye, and I get that same sting every night. And it was kind of comforting to go, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. But it's like clockwork every night.
Yeah, I've never asked anybody that question though.
Yeah.
I've never, no, I've never. I just, I was just thinking to myself and going like, what would, especially in theater,
Yeah.
you'll hear people say in theater like, someone flubs a line, or
Oh,
someone freezes up a line, you can cover it or whatnot. But
yeah.
I'm just thinking, what would happen in the middle of a big long speech, and all of a sudden it's just like that dinner you had decided to pay a visit. It's like,
Yeah, it happens. I've had, when you're a working actor, there's times you have to go on and you're sick. You are really sick, but the show has to go on, and you're expected that night. You're sold out. You have to do the show, and you'll go on and you do your piece. And what a remarkable thing happens is that like when you know your character isn't sick. You go, you're like off stage. You go on stage. You do your scene. You're in character. You say your lines, and then you get right back up stage, and you're back to being sick. Like there's
right.
just
I guess that's what the understudies are for, right? I mean, you're on there, oh York, I barely knew you.
well,
Oh, understudy in, you're in.
in the bigger shows, yeah, but a lot of the shows I did, especially starting out, were community theater or like small theater companies, and like you were it, so you had to kind of make it work. So it's some good theater experiences, and you learn to kind of adapt. Like most theater shows, or a lot of them, I guess, have there's a line flubbed or something goes wrong or something changes, but how you handle that can make a really magical moment. If you're just you say
Yeah.
the wrong line or jump to the wrong page in the script, and then you got to save yourself and hopefully know the script well enough to kind of pick that up and get back on track. It makes a it makes a unique experience. Yeah, like I find
Uh,
like theater is kind of like a living art. It's like happening in front of you and it's live. And although it's
right.
rehearsed, you have a set, the experience is right there with the audience. So you're all experiencing together, and something goes wrong, you all experience together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I just couldn't imagine that would just be like that would probably be that's probably got to be the worst nightmare for theater. I mean, you're
Well,
in the middle of a big scene or a big musical number, and then you gotta go to the bathroom. You gotta go. I mean, right now, you gotta go. I
you
mean, it's
gotta.
gotta be absolutely terrifying. It's gotta be the worst thing that could happen. Worse than blowing a line.
Well, there's a
Yeah,
lot of things that can go wrong, especially in one of the more intricate shows when you have like moving platforms and you have like stage fights and you have rigging and all that is very delicate and it's very over rehearsed and you really learn to develop a family in some theater shows because you really have to trust each other to the point
yeah,
where if I fail, you've got to save me because you're a team. If one person fails, the whole show goes down. So you have to kind of like shipmates. You have to keep the show afloat. And so when something goes wrong, you deal with it, and all sorts of things have gone wrong on stage. Um,
I'm just, I'm
I-
just laughing because I'm just laughing at this because it's like we never talked about this before, and it's like here we are, people are coming in and they're hearing us talking about like like nerves and yeah, I mean it's like it happens, uh, there's been times where it happens, you just get anxious and stuff, you
it's there's early in my career when I was auditioning for some TV shows and commercials. There'd be times where I'd overthink it. I'd be so excited, and you only have a few seconds in with the casting director to show your stuff, but you're overthinking it, and you can't center yourself and bring yourself down to the moment where the work happens, and so you don't get it. And it can be very frustrating.
yeah,
But
that part, yeah, yeah, I mean, nerves are something else. I mean,
yeah,
I've heard that from other actors who said that on set it's nothing. It's the process of auditioning, which is why a lot of them will sit there and say, "Well, I like doing the self tape more because I control everything." If I have an anxious moment or I'm not feeling it or my stomach's upset or whatever, I can stop it and come back to it. Whereas face to face, you're at the mercy of whatever you can bring.
yeah, it's they're different kind of beasts, self-taping and going into the room. Because if you're in the room, you can kind of feel the energy of where they are that day. You can ask questions about the scene. You can figure out where they're looking for, where they're coming from, what they want to do with it. When you're self-taping, you really have to kind of break the scene down and figure out what you want to do with it. Because if you try and think about what well, there's hints, there's clues. You can watch the show, try and get a feel for it. You can see who's doing it, what other productions they've done. But ultimately, you're kind of like you're putting your take that you think best forward. So sometimes that's the take they want, and sometimes it's not the take they're interested in. So it's a lot of
Um,
stepping in either.
Now, have you ever? I mean, and we're talking about us ourselves, but have you seen that in an audition where someone has their nerves have just gotten the best of them, and they've either had to run out the room or maybe some people when they get really nervous, they will laugh, they'll laugh, they're so when I was a kid, that's what happened to me. I would just start laughing because I was so nervous. It wasn't funny. It was just like, you'd be sitting in the middle of a church and then somebody would cough or someone would trip over, you just start laughing and you just don't know where and you're sitting there trying to stop it. Have you ever seen that before with someone has lost it so bad?
Um, I don't I've only I haven't directed since college, and that was really interesting to see everyone come on audition and all the different versions they came in. And some people that were really well rehearsed, some people were late and wandered in, and how much a difference it makes in whether you cast them or not, what you're looking for, and and I uh, and the good ones were able to come in and really um, they're really focused. This business is a lot about being focused on who you are and where you want to be, and what your choices are, especially for film. Because if you are the emotions, unfortunate emotions, right? Like being sad or being happy or being anxious, there's side products, right? We can't go out and say, I want to be happy right now. because it doesn't work. You can't just force yourself to be happy or sad. You're out and you're about, and then suddenly you feel sad, or you feel happy, or you're just overwhelmed with this emotion. And part of the trick of trying to make a character, making a scene convincing, is talking yourself into that situation where that that emotion comes and visits you. You know.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. I mean, I know some people can, maybe they can, you're right. I mean, if someone walked in there and to me says, okay, I want you to come in there and I want you to be really happy right now, right here, right now. I couldn't do it just to do it. It would take me a minute to get there.
There's
And I
a
guess
lot of
that's
different
really what's
techniques.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's really important to get, that's why they give you the script beforehand or sides beforehand
If
so
you're lucky.
you can actually, build before you go audition.
Yeah, well, you take what you get when you audition. When you're doing a theater show, it's very different because usually given the whole script and you're given time to rehearse it, and you know where it's coming from. When you're doing when you're auditioning, usually you're given a couple of pages from the movie or the scene or the commercial, and you have to build your performance from that. But in that is a lot of the material that you need, and when you dive into that, you can pick that out and figure out a character that you like that exists in that space, and then you can hope it works for the rest of it. But again, you can like watch if it's a TV show, you can watch previous TV shows to get a tone for the feel, what they're looking for, clues and ideas what you want. But yeah, you really have to like whatever they give you, that is your scene and that is your moment to shine, and you do the best you can with that. And then the hardest part is when you finish with that, you have to let it go and say, okay, I've made this character, I've did all this work into this. Now it's out there. If you like it, great, I'll come back. If you don't, okay, I'll work on the next one. Um,
Right.
yeah.
That I guess auditioning. I mean that's got to be, and you're right. That's something too we never heard about too much either. But is people? I guess they have never really addressed that. I never really thought about that. But I mean, I always think of when people say they audition, getting there on time. I'm always thinking they're auditioning in Los Angeles, and I'm always in my head. I'm always going like, yeah, you got to put at least an hour behind that. Like the auditions are at 12. Okay, so you got to put at least you got to figure
Oh,
out like you got
well,
to be there by if you're there by 1, you're doing well because LA is just so massively huge.
Well,
Um,
here, right, the Calgary in Alberta, right? Calgary is the bigger city. There's two big cities, Calgary and Edmonton, and Calgary is where a lot of the major film productions are going, especially now. And before self tapes, what you have to do is you get an audition in Calgary, and it's about a 3 hour drive. So you'd have to like plan out 3 hours to drive down, get to the location, and then do your like 5 minute audition, and then 3 hours to drive back. So it was quite an investment, and you really have to watch yourself. It took me a while to figure out that when I drove down to those auditions, I'd have to get there early and do something physical to wake my body up because I had a callback for a TV show once, and I went down and I got there and I went to the room and I did my scene, and the director was laughing and not laughing with me. He was at me, and I was like, "What was so funny?" And he was telling me, "Well, you just moved your head. You didn't move your body because my body was asleep from 3 hours of driving in a car." So now when I go down, I'll go down early. I'll work out. I'll get my body warmed up and then audition, and then my whole instrument is awake. And so it usually goes better. So yeah. But you
yeah,
like 6 hours out of your day to drive back and forth. It's a lot easier to spend half of that time to do a self tape.
I'm taking it you're a huge fan of self tapes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh wow, that's just
yeah.
that is a lot of dedication though. 6 hours for 5 minutes worth of somebody else's time, and not even guaranteed of that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's
And
actors. They really, I mean, you really got to love the craft to do that. I mean,
I
I've
yeah, it's an addiction. It's really I really like when it works, it really works. And um what the kernel of it is really honest, and it's the truest moment I could think about, and it's art in itself. And so it's something I really try keep going back to. I can't ever like walk away from it. So
Now, you mentioned when we did our pre-show, you mentioned you're a family man. You have a wife and kids, and does your wife help you with your auditions? Does she help you do
Um,
self-taping or read
we don't
side read lines?
sometimes. What I have now is a network of friends of mine who are also actors, and so we'll hop on Zoom and we'll help each other self-tape for each other, or we'll meet up together. And that usually is better. It's I love my wife. I do. She's really special to me. But she got into theater on the other side of things. So I was on stage and she was backstage, and so she's really good at that part, which is a great foil to me and works well as a family. Um, when it comes to like drilling down the essence of a scene, I make a lot of great discoveries when I bring another actor in and we talk about it, and we think about the motivation of the character, and we think about where it's coming from. So, but she's a great judge of like that was good or that was bad. She will tell me. She has no fear in telling me if I don't look good.
Well, that's a good thing, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you want somebody with with that skill set to be able to tell you. I mean, because I mean, otherwise, and you don't want her to lie. Well, honey, I love you so much, so you're awesome every time. That doesn't do you any good either. So it's
no,
I think it's probably best to I think it's rather cool that she's able to have that to help you.
she's an
Uh,
amazing woman, and she's been so supportive about all this. And she's whenever I think I'm working hard, she's working harder. She does so much to keep everything together,
uh,
and gives so much of
uh,
herself.
did you, did you guys meet? How did you guys meet? Did you guys meet through the theater?
We
Through
did,
a
yeah, we
podcast?
did. When I was first starting out, I really, aside from doing some stuff in like college, well, into high school and some theater shows and such. When I really wanted to commit myself, was about 18, and I wanted to do something exciting. And there's a local improv group, Rapid Fire Improv. That was the top improv at the time. There's other groups now, but and Rapid Fire is still in there. And I ran and I just started improvising with them, not really having any experience as an improviser. And they let me play in the first half, the weaker half, and she was the stage manager at the time. So she was stage managing the show, and I was in the show, and we kind of got to know each other then. And then we didn't actually started dating until after I went to college and came back. And that's I went to Red Deer College, which is a small city in between Edmonton and Calgary, where they had a conservatory like program for theater studies. It's a 2-year program, and but they had a full like tech program, and they had a costume program at the time, and so they make these really elaborate shows 4 times a year. And being a student there, you get to be involved in this really major top tier production value show. And yeah, and I really grew up there. I really developed who I was and my sense of self and who I wanted to be. And I came back a changed man. So when I did, then we started dating, and then we, fell in love. And I proposed to her after a run of Hamlet that we were doing here. I was playing Horatio, and I proposed to her after closing night. It was very romantic. It was kind of a Norse theme. There was like swords involved and a fiddle player, and we all made this great like romantic kind of. They made this little hut out of the broadswords, and she sat and I asked her to marry me, and she accepted, which was good because in front of an audience, if she said no, that would have been a bit embarrassing. So
Yeah, sometimes you wonder. Yeah, a public proposal, and it's like it's always really good to see someone say yes, But
yeah,
man, there's when they say no, it's just like, oh man, there's just got to be
yeah,
you really people doing it in public. It's like, do you really
yeah,
know that person?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I would have never I never even thought about doing something like that. Not that I was afraid she'd say no, but I just would have been too nervous,
I
and
tested it out first, right? I went to like our friends, and I got to enjoy like suggesting to them that I might ask my girlfriend to marry me, so I can watch the read on their face. And usually
right.
when I got around to it, I got really excited. And so I knew that, okay, they see something here outside of our relationship that's working. Okay, this is good. Because I've had
Right.
friends, and I've known of people who, like, they decide to get married, and when they tell friends, the friends are like, "Oh, that's a bad idea," or you can read their face. Their face will say like no, but well, they'll physically say yes, And so I kind of
Yeah.
test the waters that way, and if people start,
I've
okay,
actually been
great.
in that position a couple of times where,
Yeah,
someone's coming to me and they'll show me the ring and they'll sit there and say, "I'm going to propose," and I'm going like, "Wow, wasn't this the same girl that you were like going to leave last week or 3 weeks and
right.
5 weeks and 7 weeks ago?" And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, public proposals are. Oof. I've seen someone they say no, and then the guy's just sitting there like egg on the face. It's like, and there's just nothing. You're not. It's not recoverable.
No,
It's not going to be like, okay, well, when we get home, we'll talk about it. It's more like, oh, we're done, aren't we? It's like,
it's
okay,
kind of a catalyst. Yeah, it's kind of like this way or the highway. What do you want to do? Uh,
yeah, and I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody too, and you really got to be 100% sure. So, and your heart will tell you. Um,
I don't know. That was
so
20 years ago, so I think I got it right.
good, good. I'm always a champion for love and romance.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm all about that. I mean, I always want people to have what I once had,
Yeah.
and so whenever that happens, it's cause for celebration. So how did you get into the acting game in the first place, Chris? I mean, was this something that you always wanted to do, or did you
It
just
is.
was it something you picked up in school, or
Um, it was something I was always interested in. My family, I was born in Montreal, so that's way out east, right? And my family moved west at an early age, so we kept changing provinces, or like state to state, I guess, for U.S. analogy. But and so I was very used to like it was a very young age. I think at kindergarten I left Montreal, and then I went to like Manitoba, and then eventually we made our way here when my family wanted to settle down. I think that was like grade 4. So in those early years, it kind of shaped me of being able to just like pick myself up, put myself into a new place, and just make it work. Um, and I think, um, and that's like it was hard to do, but it was a skill I kind of developed. And I was thinking to myself when we finally, like when I was very young, I remember thinking, I want to be an actor because it's the hardest thing I could think to be. It seems like a really impossible job. And if I'm going to pursue a career in my life, might as well go with the hard one because I got my whole life to do it. So it's kind of in the back of my mind to try and pursue it and try and make it work. And there's been points where it has worked and hasn't. And I think it really launched off for me when I got to college, because that's when I found some teachers that really unlocked who I was, who I could take my experiences and kind of make them work for me. Um, and I really enjoyed that. Up until that point, I was using acting kind of like an escape. So I didn't have to be myself. I could be somebody else. I could fake it, and I could be this other character for a while, so I don't have to think about my life. But then in college, I understood how it's different. When I play a character is kind of it is me, but in a completely different circumstance. If XYZ happened to me, I would wind up here. And so I think about how would I get there? How would I become this person to go to this place, or make or think that this situation is okay? So I really kind of fell in love with that, and I kind of found the idea of changing my perception and seeing things from a different lens all the time.
now before this, were you like, I mean, did you do writing beforehand? Did you do anything before? Was there any seeds planted that nurtured to make you want to take that direction? You know, did someone talk you, like, hey,
Mm.
how would you like to try to be an actor, or did you see someone on TV, or that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a leap at this, and then your teachers found you and helped you point you in the right direction.
I kind of took a dive in college. I went down for an audition for it, it was a 2 hour. It's halfway between Calgary and Edmonton, so it's an hour and a half drive. And when I auditioned, Richard O'Brien was the head teacher there at the time. In my audition, he gave me some advice that just kind of like blew me away. And
Richard
I
O'Brien. Is that who I think it is?
Hmm?
Richard O'Brien. Is that who I think it is?
Oh, not the Richard O'Brien from Rocky Horror. No.
Oh, okay.
Richard O'Brien. But, yeah, I wish.
I was gonna say, how cool would that be?
Yeah, but it really moment of like it was a life shift where I just realized, oh, in all the time I've traveled and all the time I've been somewhere in this little city beside these other two, this is where I belong right now. This is where I am, and this is who I am. I want to do this. I want to be here for a while. And it's, yeah, I can live here. This is good.
How
And it was a
important?
place. It wasn't it was like a place within me, not where I was, but that's where I found it.
How important is that in its success for an actor, or actually any like anybody in the industry, director or cinematographer or whatnot? How important is that they make that 100% commitment and not just like 90% or 95? Do you think that's the difference between you're doing it and you're on the fence?
Um, it's it's to make the character work. You gotta live it. You gotta be there. You've got to go to the place where the character needs to get to. And when I work a scene, when it really works for me, I know where it has to go. I know, okay, this character has to get here for the scene. And I think if I can get myself to go there, and when I can, it really, really works. And I think it's what you like, because they want to, an audience is your worst critic, right? Because they can, if they're not interested in you, they'll just turn you off. Whether they'll change your channel, or they'll stop watching you, or they'll stop paying attention. They're done.
That's a real shame. I gotta be honest with you, me.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of TV shows when I was growing up, and I always thought it was a real shame when, and I still do actually. In fact, this is one of the reasons why I don't watch. I didn't, when I was watching TV, I had a rule. There was like two networks that I used to like to watch,
Yeah.
but I quit watching them because they would come out with hooks so fast for the shows that you never got a chance to really sink your teeth into it as a viewer.
Yeah.
And that was the Sci-Fi Channel and Fox. And it'd be like they spend like weeks hyping up a show. The show will come out. You go like, okay, I'm tuning into it. I'm gonna get behind it, and then you watch for the first 4 or 5 episodes, and they're still finding their way. They're still telling their story,
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's like we're hooking the show because it didn't have a 40 share. And
Right.
it's just like, how is that the actor's fault? How is that? I mean, it's like they didn't, that's not their fault. Like there's a couple of actors we there that have that reputation, like Robert Urich. Robert Urich was a very popular actor here, but he was like on 13 shows. He was on 13 shows. People liked him, but he just got on some bad shows, and it's like it didn't matter that he was liked. People just would tune out, and it was like, we like you a lot, but not in this. And then, but the thing is, though, it's like he can't control that. He can't control about that. He's like, he signs up for the project. He's going to go ahead and film the pilot. He's in it.
Yeah.
And his talent hasn't changed. What made him so likable hasn't changed. He's still the same person that you're going to watch. When his next show comes up, hopefully you'll watch him in that show. But as far as he goes, I mean, it's got to be frustrating to go like, you put so much energy and so much time into it, and you won't even get a chance to breathe.
It's a hard business because there's so much you can't control. And especially if you're on set, there's so much you can't control. But um, the best thing you can do is listen to what's happening, and try the best to make the best choices what you can control, right? Um, like it's just, yeah, you can't, yeah.
I was mentioning.
Mm,
I was talking to Laura.
yeah.
I told her that I was blown away. Like I didn't realize how extensive Canadian television is. I didn't know there was like you guys have all your networks. You guys create your own shows. I didn't know that for a long time. Like, and I still didn't know the extent of it. It would be like I think I heard about films being filmed in Canada and whatnot, but I didn't know that you guys had like I watched a show called Flashpoint, and I remember watching it the first time and going like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. I know a couple of faces in there I knew. I go read up on it, and it's like it's a Canadian show, and I'm like, holy shit, I never even heard about this because I never heard about this show. I'm like, where did it come from? Where is it? Is it now just coming on? And yeah, you guys have a really good extensive TV background. Uh, how now when you were at college,
Mhm.
was that something you were hoping to aim for? Were you thinking that you wanted to work more in TV, more in film, more in theater?
I want to work more film, because I seem to have a better knack for it. Because it's much smaller medium. It's film is very specific and tight, and theater is very expressive, because you have to get to the back of the audience. You have to make sure they can hear you. You have to enunciate. You have to pop all your p's and hit all your t's and make big gestures and announcements. And film is very really small and very like, the camera is very sensitive to anything you do. Um, but I didn't know the vehicle to get from theater to film at that point. Um, like I knew I had to get an agent, and I did, and I had to. I
How
started.
hard was it? How hard was it for you to get a representation in such a small area?
Well, I took a film class with an agent, and she was giving me some, and she gave me some good advice about it. And there's a couple of agents in Edmonton. There's a whole bunch in Calgary, um, that that have the talent. So
But that
um,
Calgary is 3 hours away from you, right?
yeah, Calgary's 3 hours away. But I know some friends who have agents in Calgary. I did for a minute, but I end up with one I really like right now. Um, so yeah, uh, but yeah, there's still
Yeah.
there's a lot going on in Calgary, and so the agents there are really finding a lot of work, and a lot of our agents in Edmonton will submit to Calgary all the time because it's easier for self tape now. So,
Right. Yeah. Self tape is like salvation for you. I
yeah,
mean, God, I couldn't imagine trying to do that now, especially with all the competition there.
yeah,
I mean, driving back there and the auditions are not just 10 people anymore. There's like 30 or 40. Everybody wants to get into the business. I think self tapes are the way to. I know a lot of actors will sit there and say they like the face to face experience, but I also think the self tape probably is a good idea too for someone in your situation. I think that it evens the playing field. It really does. You don't have that luxury of living in the city, so
yeah.
it's like, oh, I can get there in a half hour and I'm wide awake. I'm ready to go. I mean, coming in for 3 hours for a 5-minute audition, that's you're behind the eight ball from the minute you start driving. Um, what was the first role you got in college?
Geez, I think that was I think it was a Shakespeare play, I think, and it was it Biendello and Tammy? Yeah, and it was, oh, gee, it's a long time ago.
Uh, we're talking Canadian TV in the chat.
Yeah.
With Chadwick's mentioning he's only seen the Trailer Park Boys. I have not watched it all the way through a show from Canada yet. I got a season of Flashpoint. I want to get that whole set. And then our friend T Betty mentions she's watched a good bit of Canadian TV. Loved it, especially the comedy. I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to get into that more. I like watch. Do you like watching TV from other countries?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially subtitle TV. It's really good.
What TV?
Subtitles, like the subtitles.
Oh, okay. Foreign films and whatnot.
And like I think I was watching Money Heist the other night. Have you seen that? It's quite good in Spanish.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
I'd want to describe it, but I don't want to give away the plot. But it's a pretty good kind of heist movie, a heist TV show. It kind of opens up every episode of why are they doing what they're doing. So,
Okay.
huh.
Oh, is that the one on? No, is that the miniseries they just recently did with Morena Baccarin?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I've been out. I don't. I actually don't have a T. I actually don't watch TV. I'm just strictly a film watcher. I mean, I
Okay.
watch TV on seasons, but I don't. I don't watch I don't have a TV, so I don't see any of the network shows. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I like watching foreign films too. And I like to get
Mhm.
TV series when I can. Like a lot of like the stuff on the BBC or Acorn Media is really good. But do you ever watch that and do you see any contrasting and is acting universal? I mean, when you watch, when you watching another show like Money Heist, are they doing basically the same things you would be doing, or do you see things that they do that are different than how you would do it?
No, I think I see. Like it's the shows I really get into is when I find like the honesty in the situation, and I think that's universal. Um, I like those moments where you're reading the text, but you almost don't need to because you understand what they're talking about, even though they're talking Spanish. You know, um, yeah. And so I think there's a lot of it's kind of like it's trying to recreate the human condition in this situation, and when someone can nail it, it's magical.
Um, okay, we'll go back to your college real quick
Mhm.
before I got sidetracked. Um, what is it about Shakespeare you think that that makes it so popular as far as not only to watch but as a teaching tool?
Um, Shakespeare requires a lot of work. Uh, it requires um, it requires homework. It requires research. You need to know what you're saying um, and why you're saying it. So it's about a lot of the subtext of why you're saying what you're saying. I've seen Shakespeare shows where the cast didn't do a lot of work, and I find myself fidgeting, and I find myself kind of like wondering how I would do the show and getting curious about how I mount it myself. Um, and that's because I'm trying to do the work for them. But a good Shakespeare show, if they've done all the work and they present it well, then you're just watching the ride. You understand where they are, even though you're not exactly sure what they're saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, one of my favorite movies that I've ever watched was Shakespeare, and that was Much Ado About Nothing. That was
Mhm.
done in Chronic,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, brown version. Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I thought it was so cool that they stayed in character all the way through. But I've noticed that over and over and over, there's like every actor I've talked to um, has always mentioned Shakespeare, and it's just like it's you sort of after you hearing that you don't really see it anymore as a play. Like
Yeah.
I don't see it once I see it as like it's a almost like a class. It's almost like a school book. It's like every actor has to get a school book. Here, read this book and come back and tell me what you learn.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is that there's so much out there, but why is it always Shakespeare that's always drawn upon as far as teaching actors how to work?
I um it could just because so many people have done it. There's so many versions of it. There's so many interpretations of the same text in so many different ways. Um, I used to when I was in college. I used to go to the library a lot because they have the BBC productions of Shakespeare shows, and that was the only way I can get through the text. Because if I read it, it was too hard for me to read. But if I watched these seasoned actors do it, the plot seemed so simple.
Um, no, I have that one too, Casey. I have that one. The Much Ado About Nothing that Josh Whedon did.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've seen that.
I have that one, and but I was talking about the one with Kenneth Branagh and
Denzel Washington, right?
Tom Patrick Leonard and Denzel Washington, Emma Thompson. They got married. I think they were married when they did that movie.
Yeah,
It really is. It's like, yeah. I mean, that's some of the best work I've ever seen. I mean, the words just had so much more weight. I mean, it's definitely one. It's like I said, it's one of my very favorite films, and I just love the chemistry between those two. It's just amazing. So, how is it? Is Shakespeare really hard to memorize? I mean, is that part of the reason why it's given to help you improve your memory? And how do you remember so many lines in a role? I mean, it's just got to be, the memorization skills needed. It got to be just like crazy.
Well, you got to do the research. You look up the lines and you figure out what they mean, what their intentions are, and what their actual definitions are, and how they're used in the context of the scene. But it's all a lot of working the lines over and over and over again. If I get a script, I'll listen to it. And I usually listen to it. I'm easier audible than reading. But I'll try and put it on tape, and I'll play it through my head while I'm doing different activities. So my body is doing different things physically, and helps me look at it in different ways. And you almost have to build connections to make a logic why you're saying the lines when you're saying the lines. So looking at it a variety of ways helps me get that kind of diverse perspective to figure out how I'm going to say something, or how I'm going to bring it up, or how it's going to come out of me. I think one of the theater books I read mentioned how like lines should be an afterthought of the situation that you're in. So we're kind of doing the reverse of that when you're given all these lines to memorize, is trying to figure out what situation should you be in that this line would come out of.
Do you find yourself walking around the house quoting your lines?
Yes, a lot. Some actors, they can remember the lines forever. Like they'll do them for a play, and then after the play, they can bring them back in a second. And I'm not. When the play's done, it's gone. I can't bring it back again. I let it all go, which works well for film, because once you shoot a scene, you don't shoot it again. You're done. But yeah, I'll do that. I like to go for runs with my lines, because while I'm doing something like strenuous activity, it puts my body into a bit of a crisis mode, which really helps it figure out what to do with these lines. And I'll often tape them really very plain. It's a bit of a confidence booster when I hear them, because I hear like, who's this jerk that read these lines? I can do this better. And it helps me and encourages me to try to take a different take on them, and find different interpretation for them.
I want to talk a little bit about, because this will make the ears perk up. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay.
So, chat. So, what's the first thing you think of when you hear A24? Give it a minute. What's the first thing you think of when you hear A24? This will be entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, we do a series called a review series called Dollar Tree Theater, and we pick movies that we get from the store for A24 for some reason, barbecue sauce. Let's see. The first thing I think of it when I hear A24 is that I love them. There we go. That's the first Chadwick going Hereditary. So basically, you can see all these guys are just tweaking my feet, because they know that I'm not a big A24 fan. But I'm going to surprise these guys this week, because I pick for Dollar Tree Theater. We pick a movie. I put movie out to watch, and then you review it. So what I do is I put 3 movies up, and people vote on what I'm going to watch. So
Okay.
one of the things I put up was Lady Bird, which is of
Okay.
course
See Lady Bird.
the A24 film, right?
Yeah.
So I fully suspect it's going to beat Case 29 or Case
Oh,
39, and I fully expect it to beat Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties. I do believe I will be. I
contrast.
think I do believe I will be watching and reviewing Lady Bird
Okay. I
because these
will.
guys all want me to do it. Um, but here's a fact, you guys. Here's a fact. Kris right here stars in my very favorite A24 film. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Cut Bank because that movie is awesome.
Thank you. I don't star in it. I have a line in it. It's a very important line, and I'm very excited about it. But it was a great couple of days on a set for sure. I got to be
How,
a player.
walk me through the process about you getting your part.
Well, I get an audition from my agent, like I normally do, and I rehearse it. And then at that point, that was showing up in person. They're casting that in Edmonton, and then I auditioned with the casting director, who was Rhonda Pazicki, which is she does a lot of the big stuff that's in Alberta, and she's amazing. Usually, the casting directors are quite a great. They Their job is to find the people to fit the roles, and they're amazing at the job. And she is constantly working because she is so good at it. Um, and so she'll see me, and then we'll tape some stuff there. It's kind of self tape with the casting director, and then I'll go away. And then if they like me, they'll let me know and want me to come back for a callback. In this case, I did have a callback, and I auditioned for that one role, and they gave me 2 others to audition for. So something they liked. So I came back, and then a callback is usually it's a bigger deal than the first initial self tape. When you go in with the casting director, there's a smaller camera there, and she's there, maybe her assistant's there. When you come back, there's like a bigger camera, bigger lights, and you're kind of closer to getting in the show. So more important people are there. Like in this case, the director was there, which is exciting to meet him. I met some exciting directors at callbacks, and that was Matt Shackman, who directed that film. I think it was his first feature film that he was directing, but he's done a lot of other stuff too. And
Some directors get really fortunate. I mean, it's a
yeah,
rare thing. Think about this. I mean, it's really rare for a first-time director to get a movie like that and to knock it out of the park.
well, he was he was incredible to work with, and I got along with him, and we ran through the 3 scenes that I did, and then yeah, and then you go away and you wait and you hope they call, and in this case they did, and so that was terribly exciting. They called, and then they gave me a date to show up on set, which was about a month or 2 later. And in between, I had a costume fitting to make sure my costume fit and all that jazz. Yeah, and that's how that kind of works out to getting on set. And then talk about insomnia. 2 months of being excited to be in a set with John Malkovich and Oliver Platt and all that cast. It's pretty good to be part of that kind of machine, to get to see the whole script, to see the updates as they come, and to see like how often the script gets written and rewritten, and there's new pages and they're rewritten and they're redone, and this scene's cut and this scene's in, and you have to keep up to date, because if your scene's cut or yours extended, you have to be aware of it. The more information you can on the day, the more you're aware of it, right? So yeah.
That's got to be tough. I mean, especially I mean, that's got to be really nerve-wracking. In a way, in a sense, it's more nerve-wracking to, instead of having a main role, is to have a small supporting role, because you're right, you're at the mercy of the editor, and it's like, when you have a bigger
Mhm.
part, your chances of surviving on screen are good. So I guess it must be terribly stressful, as a creative. You're hoping that you're on.
Yeah, this business is a lot of skill and luck. You have to have the right skill when you're lucky enough to get the opportunity. Um, and yeah, showing up to set, with like being aware it's a big set and everything's going on and there's all these moving pieces. They call it a circus for a reason because everything is happening and everything is kind of moving around and there's a lot of moving parts and you have to kind of integrate yourself into it for a minute and do your bit and then you're out again. So it can be
Did
very,
you
very
get a
quick.
chance? Did you get a chance to watch Michael Stolberg work?
I didn't. We didn't share any scenes together. I had a bit like when I was on set, I was able to meet Bruce Dern and I was able to meet John Malkovich and Oliver Platt. Um, yeah, and because they had a few actors around, Billy Bob Thornton, I got to meet him for a minute. Yeah, because when it was the day that they were also filming a lot of the B-roll for their like their special release and like the all the kind of for their interviews. They were interviewing all the main actors, and then they had all the B-roll of time on set that they were doing for their DVD release. So it was kind of exciting to be around all these really big name actors and just kind of to hang with them and just watch them kind of exist. You know, I used to when I was on set and my scenes with John Malkovich and Oliver Platt and. In between, I was able to sit with them like you would sit just at camping chairs and just watch them talk and work. And those are actors that are living this life all the time. And to see them be in that moment and just constantly be able to be in that moment and just kind of develop their craft and think about things. And they talked about life too, their kids. And John Malkovich actually had plans to go down to the town of Cutbank following the production. And he was family on a road trip was really, down home. And,
Uh,
like,
isn't Cut Bank? Where is Cut Bank?
it's in the States. I
Is
think
it in the States?
I have to look it up. I can look it up.
You have to look it up
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Um,
because I knew at the time. It's been a little while.
what did you watch yourself on screen afterwards?
Yeah, yeah. It showed here in it's in Montana, Cutbank, Montana.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, and there's a big penguin when you drive into the town that they recreated for the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you see the movie when they come into town, there's the same penguin. It's smaller, but it's the same one. Yeah, and yeah, it took me a while to get used to watching myself on film. Um, but in the age of self tapes, you kind of have to learn too. I don't know how people can learn from their mistakes and can't watch themselves. So I got used to it. I got through the shutters of seeing myself on film and how I talk and who I am, to see past it to what I can do and how I can do it better. Um, yeah, but we did see it was a big. One of the local theaters here had it, and I raced out to watch myself for my 1 second of stardom. Yep.
Now, you know, the movie's good. I can't emphasize that enough. That it's a great movie. So
Yeah,
I'm sort of bummed for you in a way that you didn't get to have a scene with Michael Stolberg because you and him have something in common, right? So we need to talk about that.
um,
There's a term they use in a film, and it's called a steam sealer, and that is when someone comes in that isn't necessarily the big name, so to speak, but they
yeah,
come in and they just take over the movie. They just come in and everybody's looking at John Malkovich and Drew Stern because they're the names, but
yeah.
Michael Stolberg came out there and stole that movie. That movie is his,
He
100%.
such an interesting character.
Oh,
So
just
package and his
yeah.
glasses. And, oh
I,
man, yeah, I would have loved to spend some time with him to see how he works. But to watch John Malkovich and Albert Platt talk, it was like uh, um, watching the Actors Studio, except I was like in the front row. It was so fascinating. They were talking about Steppenwolf Theater and his history, and oh, it was yeah. Blew me. I was probably too gagged to really say anything intelligent, but it was a great
well,
experience.
but but you weren't intimidated. Did you look at them as as stars, or did you look at them as peers?
Well, a little bit of both. There's a bit of I can't believe, in the random happenstance that some guy in Edmonton is wound up on set with these two like phenoms in the industry. Um, but also, yeah. Oh, and there's a moment that they're really human. Okay, you
Yeah,
know, John
yeah.
Malkovich has an iPhone, and Albert Platt has an Android. Those little things, like, oh yeah, I guess, and he's having a problem with the cell phone service. Well, yeah, I get that. Yeah, so it's
I'm sure. I'm sure though. John Malkovich is a very funny guy.
he's a sweet man.
Yeah.
I don't have any problems working. Yeah, and Oliver Platt, just to see him work is great. I'm a big actor, so every time I see another big actor, it's just kind of inspiring to me. Because I think it's hard to get a big actor on screen because we take up a lot of space.
What do you mean by
When
What
you
do you
get
mean
there
by
quick.
big? I mean, are you tall or?
I'm a large person, so
Okay.
yeah, so I can I don't have a slender build, so
Oh,
um, be a challenge.
okay. So in other words, basically, what we need to do is put you in some superhero films. Let me get Marvel on the phone. Um.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
So
you can
let's
call him
talk a
Matt
little bit.
Sheckman. 'Cause I think his last show that well, not one of the last shows, but he's known for WandaVision. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and he also did X-Men.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he did. Yep, he did
So
X-Men.
yeah.
Uh, uh, so let's talk a little bit about Ditched because that is your Michael Stolberg. You are Michael Stolberg in that movie.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is high praise. That is very nice of you. Thank you.
Uh,
Yeah.
let's talk about that now. Now, where did you audition for that role at?
That was a self-tape audition. A friend of mine helped me figure that out. And we taped it, and that was really special to me. I worked all day with a friend of mine at her house, and we taped. I auditioned with the opening scene, that opening monologue that I have, where I turned from being the nice teacher with a minivan to the hardcore killer, which I really love. I love when a character changes on a dime. I love that kind of Jekyll and Hyde mentality, and I really found something I could play with there. And I really found a way that worked for me, that made it believable to me, of where Franson needed to go. Because I could see early on, like, okay, I could see in the script in my mind. I haven't seen the script where this character would go in this scene, and I think he really needs to go there. Like, if he doesn't go, I felt that if he didn't go there, then it's it the role isn't worth it to me. If I can't go there, I don't want the role. And I really worked hard to get that to come out. And it did, and it was one of those auditions where I felt so good. I'm like, great, here's the role, and I said goodbye to the character when I submitted it, and I just kind of walked away from it, and I try my best not to think about it. But when you get really close to a role, you're like, well, yeah, I hope, but you don't. And that one took its time for callbacks and for casting, uh, almost to the point where I almost forget. I was like ready to move on. Okay, accepting it's not happening. That's fine, because you don't get any feedback in this business. It's just that's it. Unless they want you in this business, if they reject you, it's not personal. But if they want you, it's personal. So there's a lot of not
Hmm.
personal rejection that happens all the time. And it's like,
That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a very interesting way.
yeah, it's one of
Uh,
the it's a quote from a casting director that I read in a book recently, and it's kind of stuck with me. Um, but yeah, he and so I let it go, and then they called me for a callback, um, and that was in Calgary. So that was in Red Deer. So I was in that little town between Calgary and Edmonton, because they had actors in Calgary and actors in Edmonton that they're both shortlisted for. So we all conglomerate down there, and then yeah, I went down there, and I saw some friends of mine in the industry that are really really talented, that are much better at schmoozing than I am. So I was like, okay, they know the director and all that. Okay, wow, okay, this is good. But I knew my character and I knew what I wanted to do. So when my chance came, I did him, performed him, and then dropped the mic and walked out. And like, okay, I'm done. And because
yeah,
you walk in, it's
dropping the
2 minutes,
mic.
you do the scene, you're out.
Dropping the mic is perfect. That's
Yeah,
exactly the way I
it's like,
looked at it.
that's it.
Because I mean, Franson is just wow. He's such a he's a he's a monster with a silver tongue. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
he here he is. He's and when I mentioned John Malkovich, because it was so funny, because when I watched the movie, the only thing I could think of was, when they brought in Cyrus the Virus, in Con Air, he's all locked up too. He's all like, he's all handcuffed up. I mean, he
Yeah.
can't, and he has that same sense of humor. And it was very much the same way how you played him. It's like, you are here when we see you, first we don't know who you are, but then then you start talking. You're so cool and calm, and it's just like, oh, he's just a guy. He's just a guy got, he's in a really bad situation,
Yeah.
and then we see some colors, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, never didn't even see that coming.
Oh, that's
And
great.
what, and it was just like, and then you're just like on fire the rest of the movie. Um, I mean, Ditch is dark as hell.
Yeah.
We actually needed your. I mean, we actually needed you in that movie, your character, you, to make the movie a little bit lighter.
Thank
And
you.
you're playing probably the most despicable character in the movie. And
Well,
it's like, and it's actually brilliant. It's actually bloody brilliant.
it's,
And to be able to pull that off is just really, it definitely speaks highly of your skill set.
well, thank you. I honestly didn't see him playing him as any other way. I thought this is what he needed to do. He needed to get there. He needed to. This is Death is happening all around him. Gore is happening all around him. He is in a candy store. He loves this, and so he's just digging into it all.
Could you imagine if you would, if they actually would have let you go? Where do you think Franson would? Let me ask you a question, because
Yeah,
knowing what you know,
yeah.
what do you think? What do you think Franson would have done if he would have been released? Would he have
Uh,
helped? Would he have helped the people, or would he have gone to war against the others? The other side.
well, I think he would have taken out those that were around the ambulance for sure. Uh, quite quickly, I think, and then it was just him and Melina, and they would have kind of tete-a-tete. Like, he was still going to kill Melina, but he respects her because they spent some time together. So he would kind of take his time with her, maybe too long, so she has a chance to escape. And then there's no redemption for Franson.
Oh
Uh,
God, no,
yeah,
no,
no.
not at all, not at all.
And
Uh,
then
I,
maybe he would like bring out her past from her in that.
oh, she buried it, didn't
Yeah,
she?
but he
I
would
mean,
find.
I'll give it away. Well, I'll give it away. I mean,
I
I
don't
didn't
want to
see
give
the.
anything. I don't want to give anything. I want people to see this film. It's a fun film.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I really did. And then once they started, once they showed what was going on, then the only thing you're doing is wondering, like, what's her secret? What's her secret? And then we find out, and it's like, oh,
They do.
you know, and nice combination too of I love the Saw element into it. I love that.
Mhm.
Um, I think the movie was top notch as far as gore goes. I mean, that's a very graphic
Well,
movie.
Bill Tazikas, I think he was he did a lot of the props in that movie because Chris reached out to him and he was a really good opponent of the movie and he unfortunately passed away. Yeah, props out to him for sure. I think he's been involved in a lot of horror films. I'm not a big horror buff, but I know he's done a lot of stuff, and so I'm glad we were able to kind of showcase some of his work.
Uh, Speaking of horror, you say you're not a big horror fan. What kind of horror movies do you like? I mean, do you have any idea what? Are you totally new to it? You need some
I like
suggestions, because we can,
um
we can have some people throw out some suggestions for you.
sure. I'm really into psychological horrors, so not so much as seeing a gore, but more of um, the kind of terrifying ideas that it can bring up, or the situations it can bring up. Kind of along like a la Black Mirror or something, or just like the concept. I'm not a big fan of jump scares. Um, I see how fun they can be, but I feel like it's just a betrayal of trust. It's like, I'm going to trust you by showing this scene for a minute, and then break your trust by surprising you with something. It
Right,
feels
right,
like a
right.
joke, right? Yeah,
It's like being told, "I don't want a surprise party for my birthday,"
yeah.
and then you walk in there, surprise. It's like,
Yeah. Like,
Really? Um,
I think there's a
all
point.
right, all right. Let's. I'm gonna while we talk, I'm gonna turn it over to the chat one more time. Um, what are some of your favorite psychological horror films? And for God's sakes, don't mention Hereditary. Oh Lord, Hereditary
I,
is so
see, I
overwhelming.
had a problem watching horror films as a kid because my overactive imagination. Right, I'd see a horror film and then I imagine the monster like behind the bathroom door. Like, there's,
That's interesting. You mentioned the monster because there is actually a very fine Canadian director, uh, uh, Brian Bertano. Um, let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, he watched. Oh, Children of Sin. Yeah, I would recommend that. Yeah, on Amazon Prime, Children of Sin.
okay.
Definitely highly recommend that. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Casey, I think so too. All right, guys, start dropping some because Chris is new to the horror game, so
Teach me, please.
drop some good
Let me
The
know it's fine.
Shining.
SL7. Okay, yeah. I haven't seen. I did see. What did I see? It was in we have some like classic era film theaters in Edmonton, and one had a showing of The Exorcist, but the what is it, the redone version, and it was really great, completely chilling, in like an old theater that kind of creaks, and it was perfect setting to watch that thing.
Have you ever been scared watching a horror film? I mean, do you get scared watching them?
Um, I
Probably not so much now. Now that
Not
you've actually
much
played it.
now. Yeah, as a kid, yeah, I would get, um, yeah, your brain is telling you these aren't real, but your imagination would say, "But what if they were?" Maybe just in case, you should double check the door before you go, or slide the cupboard door to bolt so you don't the cupboard's open when you take a shower. Yeah, some psychological.
Yeah, I guess I guess that's true. I mean, for a horror film, it's like I mean, you can be scared of horror, but until you play it a role, and I mean, once you play someone like Franson, all of a sudden it's like then you watch another horror film, you're just sitting there going like, yeah, I would have ate your lunch. It's like, here comes the big scary. It's like, yeah, I probably would have.
Yeah.
I would. You would have been toast.
I don't go for the supernatural horror. I can really kind of put that somewhere else because I know that's not realistic. It's the horror that a human being can put themselves through. That's kind of scary. Those are the real horrors.
Oh, so, see. Oh, they're mentioning the M. Night Shyamalan trilogy,
Oh yeah,
Unbreakable and Glass. Those are all pretty good.
that's Unbreakable. Yeah.
Unbreakable, except for that. Oh, how do you handle as an actor? Have you ever watched a film like Have you ever seen Unbreakable?
Yeah, I've seen Unbreakable.
As an actor,
Yeah.
not as a viewer, not as a fan, but as an actor,
Mhm.
what did you think of the last 10 minutes?
What happened in the last 10 minutes? It's been a while.
After he rescues the two kids and he walks inside Elijah's shop.
Oh man, I'm blanking.
Uh, where he discovers that Samuel Jackson is the guy who was
Oh, it's the
behind him.
guy that was plotting it
Yeah,
all along. Oh,
right.
right.
What did you think of the last 10 minutes, and how would you have done it differently?
I it was I hmm, I can get the need for a twist, but I don't know if it was I don't know. I didn't think it was like, oh amazing, he planned it all. It didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, I
Differently.
mean, without putting this in your head, but I mean, and please disagree with me if you think so. But did you find a movie like that like anticlimactic?
A little bit. Yeah. I felt geez, it's been a long time since I see it. Uh but okay,
Or,
like,
or, or,
oh, you did
or
that.
let's
Okay. It wasn't it wasn't shocking enough to be a memorable moment for me, right?
Right,
Sixth Sense
right.
was more the twist, and unfortunately, I think Shyamalan's been trying to recreate that since then.
Oh,
Um,
ever since
but
then.
'cause that was
Um,
that was the first time that he fooled us, right? That was the first time we go, "Oh," 'cause I didn't expect a twist coming from him at that point. But
no,
later on, you're like, "Oh, that's your shtick. Okay, so what is it? Here it comes." It's the
I
one
mean,
with,
yeah. I don't, he feels like he has to do that in every movie,
yeah,
and you feel really bad for him because it's like, dude, just tell a story without the twist.
I'm
We're
sure he
okay with.
yeah, I don't know, yeah, it's at the price of fame, I guess. It's what he got famous for, so he needs to repeat it, but he kinda nailed it with the first one, and that's part of the problem, I think, like, how do you recreate something you did really great when you've
It's
already
like an acting, right? So, like your next audition or your next role that you land,
yeah,
how do you create that energy, the synergy? How do you create that emotion that you did for Franson? I mean, to do that on a consistent basis, to bring somebody like that
well,
to the
yeah,
forefront, every role that you do. I mean, you've heard about that. Everybody will say, even the best actors, sometimes they just don't really hit it. Sometimes they phone it in.
mhm,
Sometimes, they don't believe in the material.
yeah,
They don't really believe in it. So you can see the lack of joy or lack of like, of concentration or whatnot. You sit there say like, or you see some that are, completely unrestrained, just going like, that's my problem with Hereditary, and everybody
yeah,
here will know. It's like, I love Toni Collette, I do,
mhm.
but good God, I mean, talk about, I mean, she out Al Pacino. She was chewing the scenery so heavy on that movie, but I think that's the lack of a firm director.
There's so many moving parts, as I said, of you've gotta trust your director. Um, I trusted Chris when I filmed Ditched 'cause, I didn't see everything from his eye. I saw it from Franson's perspective, what Franson needed. He's seeing it from the whole overall picture of what he needs for the film, where this has to go. So he says, "This is good, this is bad." I'm just like, "Okay, that's what you need, that's what we got." Um, and so I give him options, and he picks the one he likes, um and that's up to Heritage's director too, when they were filming Tony, right? If they liked what she did or they want to let her go, great. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So what's going to go? What are you gonna? What do you got next going? What are you doing next? You got anything big going on? You got theater. I know you mentioned the theater.
Yeah.
Is that something you're going to be doing? Now that
Um,
COVID's up and running, I mean, Calgary's starting to become really, really busy. Um, I suspect that your phone will be ringing pretty soon.
well,
I
there's a lot of things going on in Calgary, and it's going to ramp up right away. A lot of productions come to Calgary. I've had some fun auditions for them, and you never know when that phone's going to ring, and it's going to tell you, "Hey, you got this." That's great. Yeah, I just read for a play yesterday that a friend of mine is workshopping, so I could be involved in that. So that's exciting in the future.
let me ask you a question about that, because I like to ask this question too about
Sure.
folks who work in theater. Uh, what excites you more as a creative? Would you rather work on a fresh original play, or would you rather do a revival of, say, Phantom of the Opera? Which one, as an actor, would challenge you more?
I don't think I have the chops for Fan of the Opera. There's a point where I wish I did, um, but I want to work with a good group. Like I'm not really. It's not what the story is; it's how the story is told. All that really attracts me, and it attracts me to film in all genres. If they tell the story really well, I want to watch it.
We're talking about your Canadians. Canada. Do you know that the Canadians are known for their horror films?
I Are we?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You guys make great horror films, and you guys have a talent. Your acting pool talent is insane.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I'm
There's
always blown away by it. It's just like, you don't really think about it because everybody think of Hollywood, but then you watch production stuff in Canada, and you start seeing some actors, and next thing you know, they're all in Canada, and you're just blown away by the talent. It's
There's
like,
some
oh,
incredibly talented people up here, and in this city, this is a theater city, which I'm not as involved in as I used to be. But there's some amazing performers that are always on stage, and they're always doing some. They're turning out incredible performances, and you have never seen them in film yet. There'll be a point because they are incredibly, incredibly talented, and they sacrifice a heck of a lot more than I do to make that work. Because theater does not pay as well as film, nowhere near. Um, but I've seen some touring shows. We're a festival city, and one of our biggest festivals is the Edmonton Fringe Festival, which happens here every August. And we're excited that's kind of being opened up again this summer because with COVID it was all shut down. And they did a truncated version of it last year, and this year they're opening it up again. And then you have international performers come in, and you have world-class performers and all these different shows have been touring, so they've been working the show over and over and over again from city to city, from place to place, and they come to you and they have like 2 chairs and that's it, and they tell an amazing show with 2 actors, and they play like 15 roles, and you believe each person that they're being, and it's incredible.
Would you try something like that? I mean, you mentioned you mentioned that we were talking about improv. I mean, is that something you're working on now? I mean, how hard is that to do for you? Is it something that comes easy? Something that you work on? I mean,
It would take a lot of work, yeah, to be able to have flip from a character to character, and to like that's when an actor really shows his props, when they're one character in 1 second, and in another second they are a completely different character, and you believe who they are.
you know,
Yeah.
you used improv. You used improv and ditched.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about it, I mean, when we first meet Franson, he's one person, but we find out within the matter of the scene that he's not. I mean, you morphed. That's
Yeah.
isn't that improv?
Yeah. It's improv. Yeah, it's being in the moment. It's accepting the new situation. It's saying yes to the new existence of where he is. He believes this, and I believes that. Yeah, and I can see a sequel of him. See, like being in a small town, playing all these different characters. He's still Francis underneath, but you play all these different characters in the town.
Oh yeah, he's a fascinating character.
He's so fast. I'd love to.
It's funny that we're talking about him, and last week we talked to film director Christopher Moore, and he created a character for his new movie Children of Sin.
Right.
It's just an instantaneous cult classic. The villain is just absolutely memorable. Like Francis, like if I talk to people now and we start talking about bad guys, and everybody will talk about the same old tired ass Hannibal Lecter. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's been done for 25 years. I like to see fresh. Someone like a Franson, someone like a Mary Esther from Children of Sin. It's nice to see some fresh talent coming up to the forefront. As a fan, it's like, we talk horror, we always talk about the same old 4 or 5 franchises.
Right.
I love talking about new faces. I love talking about a movie like Ditch, because nobody else has seen it, but you really need to, because there's something else out there other than what you're used to. It's safe to sit there and say, who's going to be the next Ghostface? Well, who hasn't been the Ghostface?
Yeah, well, a lot of it's been done before. So what's new? What's a new spin? What's a new idea? And the best way I can bring that forward is taking my experience, which are unique to me, and trying to make it into a character that you like. So
yeah, I'm with you. You guys have some questions for? I think I saw some questions for. Psychological horror. Star-Lord is mentioning it. Yeah, I would recommend that if you haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, the 80s version freaked me out. Do you remember the 80s version with Tim Curry?
Yeah. The 90s, the new version will freak you out too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Although someone mentioned, who mentioned Requiem for a Dream, Interweb Kaiju. That is an amazing movie. I love that movie because it's so disturbing. I love it so much. And that's film technique that made it disturbing. It wasn't really the performances. It was that film technique with that hip hop montage, I think is what the director called it. It's really cool.
Let me ask you this, because because you'll be the first actor I've talked to since I've watched this, and I'd
Okay.
love to hear what your opinion about this is. So I watched this movie called Redwood Massacre Annihilation, and
Okay.
it stars, and it's a horror film too.
Not
And it
surprised.
stars a lovely actress named Danielle Harris,
Okay.
and she doesn't have she's she's the modern screen queen right now.
Sure.
And there's another actor named Damian Puckler who did he did 5 or 6 seasons of Grimm.
Okay.
So they're both names,
Yeah.
and in this movie I was watching the movie because I was going to review it,
Yeah.
but I was really surprised to see a scene in the movie with Damon Puckler in it. Really, it's like it's not just like a nobody. It's somebody. It's somebody who I've seen and I respect his work, and but they had him in a scene where it's a graphic scene,
Yeah.
and he's doing necrophilia. You ever seen something like that on a movie?
No.
Yeah, me either. I'm just sitting there going like, if you were asked to do a scene like that, I mean, would you turn to the director and say, hell no?
Hell no. Uh,
Yeah,
I have to. I'd have to have a really, really good reason to be doing that scene. You know, if I
I
don't,
mean, we're not talking like off screen. We're talking like in the scene. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
and
I
that's
mean,
just that's like it's
would
almost a way of gratuitous nudity, right? Is the nudity
yeah,
needed for the scene to progress, or is the nudity there because the boobs will get you people eyes on your screen?
you
What's the rationale behind it? And um, and the darker it is, I think the stronger the rationale has to be. I
yeah, it would
wouldn't
have to
say
be really
like, I
strong.
wouldn't say 100% no, but I'd say like 95% no, Like, you'd have a really good reason. Like,
Yeah, I didn't think they really needed. Let's see. Oh, yeah. See, that's what I was talking about. See, that's an extreme example, like a
yeah,
movie called A Serbian Film. Don't watch that. Um, a Serbian film. Yeah. See, that's the kind of movie that. Yeah. It was just, but a Serbian film didn't have any mainstream stars, though. Chadwick. That's the thing. Nobody knows who's in that movie. I mean, it's not a face. It's not a name. A known talent. I mean, I don't know. Uh, I at least you could do it implied. Yeah, there's
okay.
no reason. Yeah, there's no reason to
Well, there's
show
no
that.
reason but also, like, if you talk about it, sometimes talking about it is darker than actually seeing you do it, you know?
Yeah,
You talk
and
about
I'm all right with that because then it's up to your imagination, and
yeah,
that's fine because that's a personal thing. You can only control the thoughts that you have.
mhm,
No, and I'm all right with that. If I'm if I see that and I'm dealing with that on my own, that's
mhm.
fine. But I don't necessarily think that I have to see it, nor do I really want to see that. I mean, I'm sitting because quite honestly, and like I mentioned this before, I've seen hundreds of horror films, but here's my reaction when I saw it. Click, because why?
Right?
Why do I need to see that? I mean, if you want to show, if you want to show him killing her and their husband, and then afterwards you see him coming out taking a shower,
Yeah,
with her corpse on the bed laying face down. Okay, we get the idea of what you just did, and I'm all
mhm,
right with that. I mean, not really,
yeah,
but you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
I can handle a scene like that, but to
yeah.
sit there and show it, I'm just like, it's like I spit on your grave. It's like, yeah, I don't need to see that again.
Is it needed? Is it
No,
gratuitous? If it's gratuitous,
it's
there's
gratuitous.
specialty channels on the internet for that. You can go find it. You don't need to, um, you don't need to see it then, you know?
No, it was gratuitous. And if it was just a pure, $5,000 independent horror film with
Mhm,
a no name cast that maybe like outside their family, nobody will, maybe someone will see it or not see it.
yeah,
That's one thing. But to sit there and ask a professional working actor, such as yourself or in this case, Damian Puckler,
mhm,
yeah, this is what I want you to do. You're asking a tremendous amount of That's a lot to ask of an actor.
Well,
So
you're putting your reputation on the line. You have you want me to do that, and that's
yeah,
going to be on film, and that's going to
yeah,
go everywhere.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't, and in this 3-second world, that could be a clip that plays somewhere over and over again, completely out of context.
yeah.
Um, you know, it's
I'm sure. I'm sure that here he goes. I mean, if he went to a convention before this movie, if he went to a convention, I'm sure he would get asked about playing on
asked
Grimm,
about it.
over and that's fine. But now here you go, you've done this. Now you got to be ready for every question to go up there and say, dude, what does it feel like to screw a dead person? I mean, is that a question you really want to sit there and have to answer over and over and over? I
Not
mean,
really.
no, not really either. Not really.
But if that screwing a dead person was the culmination of this character's development, that they had really this undying love for this person who is now dead, and they like reluctantly decided to do it, and you're like, okay, that's different. But it was just,
Yeah.
oh, they're there. Hey, look at that, zip. Like it's not.
Uh,
Do it.
all right. Any last question? I think I saw one question up here that I'm gonna get you out of here.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's see. I think Chadwick asked it. Yep. What would you do if you weren't an actor? Do you have another passion in life other than being a wife and a husband and a father?
Wife and a father. Geez. Uh, as far as careers go, it feels like the only thing I want to pursue. I have other things that pay the bills. I've done other jobs, but um, yeah, I can't think of. At one point, I thought maybe directing would be great to get into. Um, there's a lot of joy in being able to work with other actors and to kind of create the world in the play. That's really fun. Um, yeah, it's a good question.
What
I
what
wish
would
I
you?
could like a boring job because I'm sure they pay well, but I'm not very good at that. Like, I've done them. They're just not. They're not. Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
Chadwick mentioned about the House of a Thousand Corpses, where it was implied by Bill Moseley that he was doing that, implied but not shown. And sometimes the implied, you let your mind's eye work on that, and it creates a more, it's more scarier. Uh, but no, yeah, no one wanted to see it. Um, so I want to thank you for coming up and sharing your insight. Um, Ditched is out on streaming services. It's on Amazon Prime right now. So
Yes.
if you haven't seen it, you can go out there and see it. Along with the children of sin, since we're talking about that.
Please.
Um,
Yeah. Oh,
you can. You know what? I should go ahead and tell Christopher Morris is. Yeah, turn this guy onto your movie, Children of Sins, but I want you to watch his movie, Ditch.
if it's
You
on
know,
Prime, I'll watch it.
yeah, do one of
I'll
those
be first,
network things.
then we'll like negotiate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Please watch it, and thank you for having me on, Patrick. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome. I was hoping I was hoping that you would say yes when I asked you. I was like, okay, will he say yes? I mean, and I'm so happy you did because I enjoyed this very much.
So did I.
I got you and Laura are both sensational people. I'm really glad I got to talk to
I'm
both of you.
so glad. I really enjoyed your chat with Laura. I thought that was fantastic. Um,
Um,
yeah.
and we'll stay in touch. Obviously, we're friends, and we'll put all your socials down below.
Thank you.
And after your next project is done, you let us know and come back and see us.
No, I'd love to. That'd be great.
Um, Everybody out there in the chat, you guys have been exciting as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to put everything down. I'm going to put everything down below for Chris's social, so you can go check him out and follow him on Instagram. And
See my Wordle scores. Okay.
what?
You can see my Wordle scores. That's what I
Uh,
do.
yeah, you know what though? Yeah, and yeah. Let us know everything you do. I mean, as soon as you land anything, if you get something with the new play, let me know. Let me know, and I'll let people know that what you're doing.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we all want to know. Um, Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Thank you, Casey. Tomorrow night we will be back with film studio owner, Running Scared Motion Pictures. We'll be back with Josh DeForge tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So we're going to ask him. We're going to ask him as a studio owner, what's it like operating in today's world? That's going to be a lot of fun. And then on Wednesday, Wednesday, we'll be talking to actress Angel Bradford, who's going to be doing Shark Exorcist 2. That's right, there's Shark Exorcist 2. Yeah. Shark Exorcist got a sequel. And then on Thursday, we will be talking to documentary filmmaker and film composer Emiko. And all those shows start at 8 o'clock. And thank you guys so much. And give the thumbs up, pass it out. If you're new to the channel, please give us a sub. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Stay right where you're at, Kris.
Okay.